Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program. Former President Fidel V. Ramos has died at the age of 94. Tributes pour in for the country's 12th president and people power icon. Former Ramos cabinet member and former Senator Franklin Drilon joins us live. And later, the country confirms its first case of the monkeypox virus. How are authorities preparing amid the continued rise in COVID-19 cases? Health Officer in Charge Maria Rosario Vergere joins us live. The country is mourning the death of former President Fidel V. Ramos. His grandson, Sam Ramos Jones, confirmed his passing through an official family statement Sunday. Ramos served as the country's 12th president from 1992 to 1998. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have former Ramos cabinet member, former Senator Franklin Drilon. Okay, so we're going to start with this. You were colleagues, Senator, with the former president under the administration of former President Cory, and then you also served as the DOJ secretary of former President Fidel V. Ramos. So you've had a lot of years to work with him.
That's right, Pinky. I was a colleague of the late president in the cabinet of President Cory, and he was my boss from 1992 to 1995, again as DOJ secretary. And by the way, talking about Cory, Pinky, today is the death anniversary, August 1. Former President Cory died August 1 of 2009. But having said that, it is a personal loss to me because President Ramos, together with President Cory, were my wedding sponsors. Ninong ko po at kaninang yan. 25 years ago when I had my second marriage with my wife, Mrs. Mila Drilon. So I had, it's a personal loss. I fully agree with the branding of President Ramos today as a stabilizer in chief, because I saw how steady he was in the support of democracy when we were in the cabinet together, and when I was in the cabinet, because at that time, from 1987 up to 1992, there was a lot of destabilizing,
right.
Coup d'etats. I think there were 7 or 8 coup d'etats at that time, and President Ramos was unwavering in his support for the democratic form of government that we had under President Cory. And we owe it to him. The reason why we can speak freely today to a great part is because of the steadfast support of President Ramos on the democratic foundations that we are in today.
You worked closely with him, as I mentioned a while ago, 3 years in the cabinet as his DOJ secretary. What was he like as a boss?
Well, I can characterize it as one. You would always confront the CSW as his instruction. What does that stand for? It stands for complete staff work. So, when you submit something to him, make sure that you have done the staff work, because a lot of questions will be asked. And President Ramos, I knew, was working from the office to his house, and in between, in his car, he would be working on his papers while he was moving from one place to the other. So, really, he was steadfast, and he was. I have not worked with a guy who is stronger on the rule of law than the late President Ramos. Talagang tinatanong niya, ano ba ang batas dito? Ano ba what is the rule here? And that is where I really take my hat off to him, given the fact that his background is that in the armed forces, and yet, he was deep in his commitment to
the rule of law.
observe the rule of law.
What would you say was his greatest accomplishment in his 6 years as president?
Two things. Number one, he stabilized the government, and that we owe it to him. Apart from the fact that he played a key role in the EDSA revolution. After the EDSA revolution, the instability in our setup, President Ramos played a critical role in making sure that the foundations of democracy are observed. And I had worked with him in transition as Executive Secretary of President Cory with President Ramos as the newly elected president in 1992. Mm-hmm. I worked closely with him on a transition authority, on a transition work, because the peaceful transfer of power was critical to our people's continued confidence in our democracy. So that's one aspect. He was, as he's called, steady Eddie, a stabilizer in chief. But during his term as president, he laid the foundations for a stable economy, so that we graduated from being a sixth man in Asia in terms of our economic development to a rising star in Asia in terms, again, of economic development. He removed the monopolies. He worked hard on the removal of the monopolies. He worked hard on the tax structure. And I worked closely with him when I was elected to the Senate in 1995 under his ticket. I worked with him and under his tutelage on the number of economic measures which he wanted to push. So indeed, the nation lost a statesman in Fidel Valdez Ramos, and on a personal plane, I lost a friend and a mentor.
Yeah. Ninong, at that, could you show us the photo of you and Mrs. Drilon together with the two former presidents, Cory Aquino and Fidel V. Ramos?
I'll show it to you. I don't want to do it, but Mila wanted me to show this. So this is our wedding 25 years ago with President Ramos and President Cory as our principal sponsors. And both of them are already enjoying each other's company in heaven. That's Cory and President Ramos. And by the way, as I said, this is Cory's death anniversary.
Right.
She died on August 1, 2009.
Senator Franklin Drilon, thank you so much for sharing with us your experience and your thoughts on former President Fidel V. Ramos. Sir, take care of yourself. Again, maraming salamat.
Thank you, Pinky, for having me today.
And coming up, the country confirms its first case of monkeypox. We'll get an update from Health Officer in Charge, Maria Rosario Berjere. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned.